Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Uncut and After Show. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they premiere, and there's also a PayPal, Patreon and crypto link in the info box below the video. Also below this video you can get £50 for swapping your UK electricity supplier to Octopus Energy. Speaking of Patreons, I'm going to do a quick shout out to all of you who do support me on Patreon. So a massive shout out of thanks and appreciation to Maximum Gravy, Austin Whitsitt, John Kays, DL Hill, Julian Jeremiah, Michael Kahn, Patrick Gunnels, Banter, Will Brax, Mel B. Styles, Troy Shuker, Bose Nail, Samson, Maris, Harry Blade, Mobile Max 777, Neo the One, Lost Cat FE, Rob W, Open Minded, Reese Pound, Del West Watson, Mike, Dick Earth Skeptic, Maria Neelands, Unbelievable Productions, Blue Ridge Ranger, The Real Gabster, Liam Nedrick Jr., Abraham Mohammed, Naibai, Adrian Quintana, Skeptic936, Life is Short, Fireball X, TheFlatEarthChannel.com, Texas Mike, Edwin Johnson, and David Wayne Foster. So another massive thank you to all of you for supporting me on Patreon. Now I'm going to hand over to whoever is in Discord and Google so you can enjoy their dulcet tones while I set up for today's live show.
With where you're sitting, back behind you, like a screen or something?
That is a backdrop, but I'm talking about backdrop as in to the audience, what they see when I do my shout out to all the Patreons, right? It used to be, I think it's like a radar scanner with a fake chat scrolling up the side of it. But that's been up there for a while now, and I don't know who it was. Somebody mirrored something from ages ago, and it just happened to have a very funky backdrop where the mountains scroll along, and then the person that's talking turns into this like orb. Now, it was cool once or twice, but obviously I don't want that to be like my signature, so I just abandoned it after a couple of times. And now the fact that it's resurfaced is like, oh, that was a cool backdrop I was using. But now I'm using something else, which is what was it? I've forgotten what the name of the wallpaper is. Something like console or workstation or something like that. But it's just a load of monitors and various other things. Anyway, makes me happy.
I was going to say, if you're happy, we're happy.
I'm happy.
Hey, where do we stand on that, like in the South Pole? It's dark for 6 months out of the year or something.
Oh, God.
My wife was telling me something about that last night, and I was just shaking my head.
I referred to Robert Shortman. People went back to his interview, and the way he answered my question when he was being interviewed on camera, pretty modest, shy, relatively shy guy, Robert Shortman. But I asked him outright, is there 24 hours of sun in Antarctica? And he's like, no, not all the time. Now, having spoken to Robert Shortman dozens of times, and one of the reasons he approached me at a meetup in the first place was based on the fact that he'd been down to Antarctica and could refute some of the claims that were made about the place, one of them being 24 hours of sun. So when he's sort of chuckling along going, no, not all the time, he means, no, there's not all the time sun. You don't get sun all the time. Now, a few people went back to that and took that to mean he means not all the time as in not all year round, but that means there might be sometimes. You're like, oh, whatever. You know, you'll read between the lines as much as you need to get out of what Robert Shortman said. But it's pretty specific in terms of he spent 18 months down there. He's been asked specifically something that he's come up to me about and told me about out of the blue. So he approached me and said, hey, I've been to Antarctica, and then reeled off a whole load of fallacies and nonsense about the place. And I was like, great. Back in the day, though, same with Robin Poe, when I interviewed her about a 110, 115 mile shot across Ferrari in Italy. And she's explaining it, but she's sort of chuckling at the conclusion. And these days, I would have really pegged him down and gone, no, say it specifically. Say there is no... I wouldn't have told him to say, I wouldn't have told him to quote what I'm saying. But you know what I mean? I'd have made it... I'd have led him in such a way that he'd have said, there is no 24-hour sun in Antarctica. I was down there for 18 months, and that is absolutely not how I experienced it. I experienced it late in the winter, or whatever you want to call it in their seasonal terms, the sun coming up and going down on the horizon, pretty much like we see here in the winter. That's how he described it to me, if I was to paraphrase back what he described to us. But under interview circumstances, when you're on camera and you had a very large audience, there was about 300 people watching that show. It was a big deal, right? So, you know, he was nervous and, you know, wasn't potentially as concise, but doesn't change or alter what his testimony made clear. Just not clear enough for somebody not to read between the lines, let's just put it that way. And that's how you alleviate pain if you're being told something that's contrary to your belief, right? Probably doesn't answer your question, Neil, but I hope it does.
No, it kind of does. I told my wife about that too. That's the plumber guy, right? So I told my wife about that, and she's getting this. She goes, "I see your video. They're showing it on TikTok. There's no sun. There's not going to be any sun for 6 months." But even if it was, what does that prove?
Well, it requires an affirming the consequent form of logical fallacy to go along with it, but they'd beg the question of a sphere and then claim that proves the sphere, right? You know the game.
Yes, and that was my point. There's like, even if there was, what does that prove? It proves nothing. They don't know what the sky is, don't know what the sun is.
Well, when you ask those questions, Neil, you're being very wise in terms of asking or leading them to make the assertion. Now, along that process, when making the assertion, they'll inevitably employ a fallacy. Obviously, they're going to beg the question of a sphere in the first instance. And when they do, you just point that out to them. In other words, your logic is flawed because you're trying to prove that we're on a sphere, and your assumption is that if I travel to the south, I'm then hanging off the bottom of a sphere where I was standing on the top of it. I am antipode from my position when I arrive. Well, if your antipode from your position is an assumption of the very thing you're trying to prove, aka begging the question, and you can just point that out to somebody, rather than just saying it doesn't prove anything. It's like, well, no. In the way it's been formatted for us, it's, to date, not proved anything. It just uses fallacious reasoning. But you can't assume that they're going to do that. They might suddenly pop out of the blue something that you had no idea about, and you're like, wow, actually, I doubt it, Neil, but you've got to at least let them try. So, Adam.
Yeah, I got it. I'm in the middle of working, so
that's okay.
I understand.
I was going to ask you.
To that. I mean,
go on.
We've not seen. It's a mystery. What's strange is that there isn't this supporting evidence from Antarctica. It's not like there isn't some evidence. There's all the Ushuaia stuff has got longer twilights and that, but it's not in the same way. It's not like the reverse of being up in Norway or somewhere. It's very different light and feelings when you look at it. It feels different to people are saying, but there is extended hours in their summer, our winter. But the bit that to me would is it's always when interesting talking about Jesus being missing from history. It's always more interesting when something's missing, something obvious, something simple that easily demonstrates something is missing, and that 24-hour sun from Antarctica is missing or faked in such a bad way, and that I find more interesting than.
Okay, I mean that's interesting, and it is one layer to it, and obviously Gavin focused on that in a specific interview with somebody down there. Obviously, at some stage, I found that interesting too. However, at the moment, what I find more interesting, Adam, is that Antarctica's put right under our nose in many, many different ways. Now, let me put this to you. Let's say, for the sake of argument, you discovered a place out at sea, and that place had certain mineral wealth or something of interest that was valuable, or it was just useful geographically, whatever, right? If you wanted that to remain hidden, would you A, put out lots of stories about that particular location that are contrasting and some of them fake and have people arguing about that location, or would you take a different location that was completely benign, not really of any particular interest to anybody, but claim to be of the utmost interest to everybody, which would you do? Would you just focus people's attention on area that is already in existence that you can actually direct people's attention to, or would you give them lots and lots of information about the area that you didn't want them to know about? Which would you pick?
Yeah, I think it'd be wise to set up a treaty and then ensure that anybody that wants to go anywhere near that area was heavily regulated. Would be a very way of
Oh, so you're picking option
controlling.
B. Interesting.
Yeah.
See, I would pick option A. Yeah? If I had a particular region that I was interested in hiding or not having to make any explanation for, I would just direct you, let's say it's in a different part of the world, I'd just direct you towards Greenland.
Oh, no, that's what I'm saying. I'm agreeing with you. I'm saying I'd set up a treaty and then I'd encourage you to go to the South Pole. The South Pole, which is via this route only. And nowhere else can you go, but there's no restriction if you get in there. Just you have to work with the environment to get there. So set up a story that directs you to a place, but not necessarily is...
the place, exactly.
The place,
yeah. So if I can, because it's difficult to follow along if you're talking about the specific place you're making the example with. So if I just change the example to, we find island X in the north, yeah, and it happens to be relatively close to a geographical significant location like the North Pole, right? Well, you find area X and go, nobody must know about area X. Let's tell them that nobody must know about the secrets of Greenland. And then make up a treaty about Greenland. And have the Greenland Treaty. And then put out various different stories about Greenland. Then everyone's attention will be on Greenland. Rather than on this area X that we don't want anybody to know about.
Yeah. A bit like the nuclear explosions under 9/11 towers. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about that. And whether that was possible as opposed to why it was, you know what I mean? It's a nice subterfuge.
Exactly.
Gives
Did
you
he
loads
say?
of conspiracy.
Did he say pulled? Pulled's a demolition term. Yeah, let's talk about that instead. In other words, put out a whole bunch of crazy narratives and crazy conspiracy stories about something like that in the same way as has been done with 9/11. We're getting close to 9/11, so it's probably why this topic's come. But there's so much bullshit out there about it, isn't there?
You can't get anywhere near the truth. There's so many different routes now that the one thing that you probably is the truth has just been so heavily buried with this, that, and the other. There's just a screen of bullshit, isn't there, hiding the truth to the point that you're even looking at the wrong part of a map.
And ultimately, that particular, we won't specifically focus on anything by name because it will get me demonetized. So if you focus on something that is actually in contention, there's a good chance that that particular thing that you're arguing about isn't really the thing that you should be looking at anyway. It's like a magician's trick. What does he do? He's got a wand. What's the wand for? Well, it's to grab your eye. High contrast, black and white, grabs your eye as it waves. So you don't look at the other hand. That's what the wand's for. Yeah? So you wave the wand, and that's what the people look at. Meanwhile, your wallet's going missing. Right? If it's a street magician.
Good morning.
Hello. I never dreamt, right, when I was at college, when I learned about various different aspects of producing performance art, right? I never thought it would translate so beautifully into something I ended up doing as a career, i.e. this. But when you see how people are convinced of various aspects of what they believe is their reality, it's done through what some call incorrectly entertainment. You know, that's the means, that's the conduit for getting you to believe this crap. And it's been the same for centuries. It doesn't matter if it's a stage or a TV set or an iPad in modern terms. You know, the medium is kind of irrelevant. The process remains the same. And, you know, people are really easily convinced of various different aspects of their worldview with very little effort. It's really easy to convince people of stuff. Much more difficult
You're
to
right.
convince them that they've been lied to. That's really, really hard.
You're right. I've been thinking about that actually. I was actually watching a video, and I was like, why is this so far from the reality that we're living now? It's almost like they don't even live in these times. I would have no inclination as to what's going on, because this isn't imitating life whatsoever. Well, it is. It's imitating the normie's life, but it shows how unconscious the entertainment is, and it's not just the music. Like it's various forms of entertainment, news media included, because people find that entertaining, and it's all saying the same thing, and it's like people don't get it. They laugh about it. They're like, yeah, that's funny. Oh yeah, I had this bright idea myself to go do this thing that I heard a joke about, and I was like, yeah, that makes sense. I related to that guy.
Indeed. Yeah, we're subject to massive amounts of propaganda, and it's not like it's necessarily intentional propaganda. You know, people are propagandized from a very early age, and therefore they will perpetuate those notions, whether they realize that they're propagating propaganda. They don't know. They're just repeating what they understand to be the truth. Of course, people like us come along and highlight how damaging that is to your well-being in terms of your cognitive processing. And often people don't want to hear it. They don't want helping in that regard. They want McDonald's burgers and they want to get on with their life, and they don't want to give anything a second thought in that regard. Fair enough, whatever.
You mean when my propane guy said, "Oh, gravity brings your water down from the hill"? Is that the kind of propaganda that people propagate and not know?
Yeah, it's part of the language, right? When they say gravity, they mean weight. What do they mean when they mean weight? Well, they mean gravity. Why? Because it's part of the language. People don't realise when they say certain words what they're invoking by way of current rhetorics that are in place that attach themselves to those particular descriptions. And you've been taught them at school, so you will relate them back to those concepts and, conventions. And in many instances, there's nothing wrong with them, right? I mean, Adam told us about converting to newtons, and sometimes it's done not because it's required, but because that's just part of the process that they're told to do. But does that make it not useful or not working? Well, no, it doesn't mean it doesn't work. It works within certain parameters. What we're highlighting at the moment is the parameters that these things are defined within are solids or liquids, definitely in containment if you've got liquids, because they'll dribble off the scale, but weighed in air. Well, when you come to the air itself, you can't suddenly stick that on a scale. It's the medium that you're weighing everything in to begin with. So what is weight in terms of a gravitational attraction down at 9.8 meters per second squared when you're talking about air? Well, it has no direct bearing on it. So in terms of weight, when they describe what weight is, gas or air is weightless. There is no weight ascribable to it. Why? Well, in real terms, because it's the medium you're weighing things in. Well, what's weighing? Well, it's a convention that's useful for solids and liquids. And also, if you contain gases, you can cram loads of them in, increasing their density in a given area of volume in a containment, and then stick that on a scale. So you can kind of bastardize this convention and try and attribute it to gas when you force it into a container. And that's fine also. Works, right? So, their weight invokes gravity, and most people won't appreciate that magic trick, and they'll talk about it like it's normal. I do it. We do it on the show. We talk about atmospheric conditions. We talked about the NASA building yesterday, and we were talking about how much atmosphere there was in the top of it. It's supposed to have its own atmosphere, right? Oh, really? It's supposed to have its own sphere-shaped air? We just say it because it's part of the language. Centre of gravity. I was talking about it with my kid the other day, talking about buses and how they tip and cars that are lower, and I was explaining the centre of gravity using those terms in a book that we've got, and that's how it used those terms. Now am I going to stop and correct the book while I'm teaching my daughter something? No, I wanted to know the principle. Do I care that the language is brainwashing her into the understanding of gravity at that point? No. I wanted to understand the concept.
I got a picture for you, Master B. Let's see if we can understand this.
Okay, it's up.
Well, just one look at it. What do you see? What's going on here?
What's going on here? We got, if this black area is claimed to be a vacuum, then we've got a second law of thermodynamics violation going on, because entropy increase would dictate that this gas would fill this space, leaving all occupants below dead. What's this cartoon? Spaceman with a vacuum cleaner.
But read the words. It says vacuum, a volume of space that contains little matter or few atoms. Now, in the educational system, we've been shown pictures like this on the right many times. But then when you put that astronaut with a vacuum and signifying that at a certain point, anything that's behind his feet, where the vacuum is plugged into something, is outer space, 10 to the minus 17 torr vacuum. And then supposedly everything in front of his feet, there's still some things that are able to stay within a sphere's, how could I put it? I can't even, I look at it, I can barely say it. Surroundings, like how could gas and the nature of gas work the way this left picture shows? And yet they got them both together. And if I show this to anybody today who thinks I'm crazy for challenging gas pressure argument or any of the housekeeping questions, they'll say, I mean, they won't get it. They'll just look at this picture and they'll say, yeah, that's exactly how it is. That's gravity, that's weight, that's why we have an atmosphere. Do you know how gas pressure works? I mean, does your tire work this way with a big hole in it?
Good stuff. Love it. But most people don't appreciate it. Most people won't appreciate that there's a law of nature violation claimed to be their sky. Most people don't even think about it.
You could even go right now, as people are trying to figure out what the sextant argument is. It's so simple. You can go to their own sites, and it's talking about a 90 degree. It's talking about an altitude, which is the zenith, or the 90 position of the star over the Earth, in relationship to you, the observer, with the sextant getting an angle to it using a 90 degree. I mean, it's within the description of how a sextant must work. And they're having problems with it. The whole book, Nautical Almanac, is, as I've said, an address book of the stars, at least the 64 stars. If you open one up online, you can just go through the pages. It lists all the stars and then lists the sun, moon, planets, and Aries. And 64 of them totally. And it gives the address of where they're going to be every hour, every minute of every day, exactly overhead somewhere on Earth. I mean, it's not hard to figure out how the sextant works once you know the address of a star. You got to have a triangle to it, and it's got to be a right angle triangle. And it covers thousands of miles. Well, what happened to 8 inches per mile square? And what happened to the curve of the Earth? Well, it's gone. The sextant can't work. That address book isn't right. And people who use the sextant come back mad and return it to the manufacturer and say, this thing doesn't work. No, do they do that? No, they don't do that because it works on a flat plane.
I mean, obviously it requires the black swan for it to be as strong as it is, because you go back to any assumption that they make with our values being debunked automatically. So they get around, which isn't how the sextant functions in the first instance. is all automatically flawed by way of their begging the question fallacy with R. But it does do 2 for 1, the sextant. It does actually debunk the globe and prove a flat plane simultaneously, which the Black Swan doesn't. The Black Swan's a globe killer.
Yes, but it was the Black Swan that gave birth to the idea of the sextant, because obviously it was the first time we actually looked at the horizon rather than something in front of the horizon that's being obscured. When it's the horizon that's supposed to be obscuring everything, because the horizon is Earth curve in their model. Well, that just set off a bunch of thoughts in my head, and that's when I took the deep dive into the section. I said, well, I see something here. I'm gonna go find it. I didn't know exactly what I would find, except that there was a big clue saying this is it. You know how you kind of know something's it, but then when you go find it, it's something even bigger, much more. And it was that. It was like, wait a minute, are they going to write this down in the manual of the sextant? Oh my gosh, are they going to have videos on it that say this is how it works? Well, just their own videos destroy Earth curve. Just their own description of how a sextant works destroys curvature of any type. Because circle of equal altitude is not our language. It's the globe model language. But it kills them, because what is it? It's a flat plane with a radius, and the radius line is straight. It can't curve. And they're the one who loves radiuses. I mean, it's perfect.
Yeah, at some point, I foresee them just coming up with some, like, they're probably shell shocked right now, but they'll let themselves go numb. And then they'll give some explanation that they'll just run with, just like refraction is the explanation, even though it's a debunking of the geometric claim of the horizon distance, and I have no hope for them. Zero hope.
It's not for them. It's not for the denier when truth is in front of them. It's for people who are caught in between the argument and say, well, who's telling the truth? And then when we debate it and vet it out, those people get it. We need the anti-flat earthers to stay anti-flat. I don't really care if they change. It's comical.
Good point. I need someone to say 90 degrees doesn't matter.
There you go.
All right. Well, and it's interesting whether you're dealing with a troll or not. Over at 24/7, I try to get people not to waste their time. So, what I mean is the flat earthers who I don't know, they picked up these bad habits. I don't know what else to call them, where they're talking to someone for 2 hours and they don't know their intention. The first thing I ask someone is, hey, welcome to the server. Why are you here? And they go, well, I just want to learn more about your model. I don't have a model. I don't have a reification fallacy. You know what that is? No. Oh, okay. It's when you take a model and you believe that to be a reality. I don't have that. When I think of the earth, I don't have an object in my mind in the sense that I see an apple or I see a Tropicana juice or I see a table or I see a chair. And I'm like, oh, I've seen it. I can describe it because I've seen it in my mind. I don't have anything like that for the earth. And everything that you've seen on Google, that's not from me. That's not from us. For that being the case, what do you want? Well, I just want to know why you think it's flat. Well, okay, so I don't mean like I've taken a tape measure from one end to the other and measured the diameter or anything like that. It simply means that I was told that the earth was a specific size, and using geometry, we can determine, the convexity of the surface over whichever distance. And it turns out there's no convexity anywhere. So I'm left with only one option.
Yeah, I don't even think you need to go through all that. Nathan, I got 2 more pictures in Master B.
Well, going through that, because you can even disarm a troll. Like, they just go quiet, and then they sort of just, if it's me doing that, they sort of just leave because they know I'm not playing a game. You know?
Okay, you got your first picture with your protractor.
Yeah, so here's a protractor used 2 different ways. You see that 180 line on the top one where he's looking at? It's straight, it's flat, it's 180. It's a straight angle. And then here you got the bottom one. And we've seen the flagpole illustration by them even on their YouTube channels of saying the star is like a flagpole, you know, it's directly over somewhere on the earth. Well, here's a flagpole with a flag on it, and there's your angle to it. It looks like you can get there with a 90 right angle. If you can see the right angle there, that's not drawn out. And so sextant is a glorified protractor. Now you're going to say, anti-flat earthers is going to say protractors don't work. That straight line is not straight. Rulers all of a sudden have to be thrown in the trash because, we got to listen to the anti-flat earther. Rulers are bad because it's straight. Go to the next slide. So that's why I made the slide here, because really a sextant in the top right of the picture, does all this. 180, it was funny because Interstate 180 is really what you have over the waters because that's your straight. You gotta be straight, and you gotta have that 180, and then you got the sun over there to the left, and it's directly over somewhere on that ocean, creating that 90 to your 180. In fact, just a straight line is 180. You can't even get a 90 out of it until you bring in the sun and say it's over here. Well, directly over what? Directly over the 180. Well, there's your perpendicular. You can throw all this out and say you won the argument. You think you can argue against the black swan and the sextant and look decent, like you have any brains? People see pictures like this and you fighting this, you ballers are going to be laughed out. You can look so foolish. I mean, they've looked foolish already, but they're going to look so foolish. And all we got to do is just show pictures like this and take them to their own sites.
Yeah, you don't think that's a coincidence, do you? What you said about the 180 going over the water? You think that was just a message left there for us? Like, don't worry, someone knows. You know what I mean?
It just is what it is. It's not like it's a message. The Earth presents itself as flat. We navigate it as such. We fly over it as such. We build on it as such. Well, that's just how it is, right? It's not like that's some crazy notion that we should have to defend.
No, it is. It is if you're building a table. It is if you're making a road. It is if you're constructing a house. But the minute you say, I'm going to use the same things and show the plane we live on, you get a big argument. Oh, no, we don't live on a plane. Oh, no, straight is curved. Don't. What are you talking about? That tool can't do what you say it can do. That tool does what we say. It needs a flat surface to work, period. That's the way.
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live, and there's also a PayPal, Patreon and crypto link in the info box below the video. Also, below this video, you can get £50 for swapping your UK electricity supplier to Octopus Energy. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel. So please share the show on Facebook and Twitter. One last time, if you're new to the channel or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. Now we are joined by Eli, 10th Man, the Adam Meakin, Neil, and a whole bunch of people in Discord. So welcome one and all.
Morning.
Afternoon.
Hey,
everyone.
good morning.
Good morning. Any evidence of a physical geometric sphere edge horizon formerly known as Earth curve?
You can need the R for that. There's no evidence.
Any evidence of axial rotation of the Earth-based variety then?
Hello, guys.
Hey, Owen.
Axial rotation, you say?
Axial.
Oh, dear. I don't think the problem is even to determine whether there is axial rotation or not. I think the main problem we are facing is the inability for a whole category of people to deal with the natural consequences of it either spinning or not spinning, because they seem to like to mix up those consequences constantly. Keep us distracted with that.
I just wonder, is there any sensory input phenomena that we observe that would maybe suggest that would warrant us to investigate the fact that the Earth's moving, even though we don't experience it? Well, why would we look into that? What would make us want to bother to look into that when all our experience points to the opposite?
Well, I can tell you why we shouldn't.
I can answer that.
Oh, well, let me try and answer why we wouldn't look for it. So, when they're describing the effect we should see to demonstrate Earth as a rotating sphere, that effect would be Coriolis deflection. And the effect that is observed, albeit a not actual deflection, it's still an observed deflection. And that relies on the example having you on a non-inertial turning reference frame. That would be to say that you're not noticing the effect of the reference frame turning, you're noticing the effect of the thing in the inertial reference frame looking like it's coming towards you. Oh no, it's come towards me. Oh no, it's hit you in the face. Why? Well, because you're on a roundabout under a tree with a branch hanging over it. Well, the effect that's described is the effect of the branch coming towards you, coming to get you. That's what you're observing. And to describe it that way, the reference frame that is turning is non-inertial. So no inertia to take into account with the example, therefore why detail it in terms of what we should be feeling, Adam? No, non-inertial, right?
Well, yeah, but comes back to the point of we're only looking for it because we think we should be seeing it, and then we'll look for reasons why we don't see it. But what's the reason? As far as I can see, the only reason we should be looking for it is because we have this presupposition or belief that we're on a ball that's spinning. No other reason to investigate that. If we didn't have that claim, we wouldn't be investigating spinning Earth we're on, because we don't have this Coriolis. We don't experience this Coriolis effect. So why would we investigate something to then make an excuse as to why you don't feel it? It just seems you need the pre-belief to put all of this inquiry in.
Arwen, did you want to go over the doublespeak contradictions or not? I thought that was what I was pausing for.
Sorry, I just went to the toilet. So I really
That's
needed
just
to
not
go.
what we need to know. Did you want to address the doublespeak? The way this started off, Arwen, just let me lead you back in, is that you're pointing out that they will describe the effects we should see, only to later describe why we will not see the effects they said we will see.
Right. It's crazy. But I've always thought why they think it's spinning in the first place, why that on an intuitive level enters their mind, is because of the stars rotating around us, seemingly doing so. And that's always been the primary suggestion, because in the physical world, there is just no sign whatsoever there is any form of rotation, like of the Earth. It's just not there. But then, yeah, they just spend all their time mixing it up. And then one time, oh, things are deviating. But with others, no, it doesn't deviate. And that's okay with them. It's okay with them that it contradicts, that it doesn't make any sense, because then they can keep it kind of vague in their mind, and they can still have their rotation and Earth being stationary at the same time. That's what they like.
Well, I
Sounds
look at the
painful.
whole thing as it's null and void due to the factor that they can't manipulate the very thing they say is moving.
No. Wrong.
Huh.
Who's claiming this is science? Describing the Coriolis deflection isn't a claim of science on their side. You've got to be careful. Just because they can't vary and manipulate an independent variable. Who said this was science? It's a Coriolis effect. That's not science. And I don't hear anybody saying
No, I'm talking
it
about
is.
the Earth's rotation
Yeah,
in their paradigm.
yeah.
So it's begging the question, either just the sky or the Earth. So it's null and void.
Let me tell you a story of a guy called Spurs Chemo. And he heard this wonderful, wonderful example about how science just basically just debunked everything. Amazing, right? All you had to do is ask them for their independent and dependent variable and establish whether or not they can vary the independent variable, right? So you'd go around, Spurs Chemo, sorry to make this example, man, but it was you that did it. I know you don't now. You're far, far beyond this. So don't give Spurs crap for something that he did like 3 years ago. But he started asking people for their independent variable when they made an example, not realising that, yes, it's a wonderful chainsaw unless you're attacking plumbing, and then it's useless, right? So if they haven't made a claim of science in the first instance, they're not claiming to have the presumed cause validated by systematic experimentation. In this case, the cause being turning Earth, because we're not claiming science, we're claiming that we'll see a deflection at 15 degrees an hour in the stars or in aeroplanes or hot air balloons. Whatever they say will give them deflection. Doesn't matter if it's gyros or pendulums or, I don't know, whatever they claim. That's the effect, but that isn't a scientific claim. Now, somebody could turn it into that and say it's science, but I don't recall anybody doing it. Therefore, you can't say, well, you can't vary your independent variable of Earth turn. It's like, who said it needed to be varied? Who's saying that? You follow me, Don?
Yep.
Yeah, I follow you, but it's the fact when they make such claim as in Coriolis deflection is caused by the Earth's rotation. Oh, that's begging the question.
I agree. But your initial gambit was to say that they can't vary it.
No, they
But a
can't
would
stop
statement.
in their paradigm. They can't stop or manipulate the Earth's rotation to see if that's what caused the actual effect they say is an effect or a force.
Agreed. But unless somebody's postulated this as a cause and effect relationship validatable with science, it's unreasonable to charge your opponent with that as a debunk. You can't vary the Earth turning, therefore it's not turning. That's a fallacy in and of itself.
You've
But
got him with the
they don't
chainsaw,
even have a
haven't you?
phenomenon.
Hold on,
as
I got Owen
Nathan
and
said.
Adam. Who wants to go?
Oh, no, and you first.
Sorry, but the whole thing is they don't even have a phenomenon. They only have a scenario. Like, if the Earth was a ball and spinning, yeah, there would be Coriolis effect.
not
yeah,
true
yeah,
either.
that's nice. But
That's
there
not true.
isn't actually.
There is star movement. There you go. There's a phenomena.
So what are stars, you know?
I'm not saying you can't formulate this into a scientific claim. Now, I've heard Etvos effect claimed as being science, and you can rip that to shreds based on its lack of independent variable, dependent variable, formulated null, all of those things. But as we discuss this, right, as we discuss Coriolis effect, the effect has an established cause. It's only going to be caused by rotating non-inertial reference frames. That is the cause of this effect. Now, the induction or inducing that effect is just as simple as sitting on something that rotates and looking at something that isn't attached to the roundabout, or whatever it is, Lazy Susan if you like, that you're sitting on that's spinning. Yeah, well, that's a cause and effect relationship that doesn't need any validation. You know what the cause is. The spinning causes it. You're just describing that. But it doesn't require science. Now, to just assert that that cause and effect relationship, i.e. cause, non-inertial spinning reference frame, effect, deviation observed in an inertial reference frame, to assert that that is actually occurring on Earth, you need to actually see the effect. Not say, well, can you vary Earth turn? Just, okay, if that's an effect I'm going to see because we're turning, let's see the effect happen then. And it doesn't. So it's like, yeah, that's fine. The cause and effect relationship established as Coriolis deflection is real. No one's going to deny that there is Coriolis effect, that that thing exists, that you can induce it on a roundabout. It's very simple to induce Coriolis effect. Just spin on something, looking at something that isn't with you spinning. Simple. There's Coriolis effect, observed from your rotating platform. So that isn't in contention. But as soon as you transpose that onto a turning Earth, the effect of the branch coming towards you as you turn beneath the tree in my example earlier, that would happen on Earth. Hot air balloon goes up, and if you're turning towards it on a turning Earth, suddenly you're turning towards the hot air balloon. It's coming towards you when it just goes up into the air. Well, that doesn't happen. You don't find yourself rotating underneath and past hot air balloons that have just took off. You don't find yourself rotating underneath and then past drones that you launch. That never happens. If it did, it would shorten flight times. So the effect they're describing is a real effect. It just doesn't apply to Earth because we don't see the effect. Roll on the fundies like Arwin was describing, telling us how we shouldn't expect to see the effect, the very effect they're claiming is supposed to be proving Earth spins in the first place. Not science, though.
That's right.
There's no science in my pulling apart or their claiming of Coriolis. That isn't a scientific claim.
Right. It is compounded by the universal problem that they on purpose misunderstand what science is. They think science can be anything, and it isn't. So that's on top of it.
But Neil deGrasse Tyson says you can't see the effect and uses a football. And then the anti-flat earthers say you can't see it, but it's there. So the fight is within there, not what we're talking about, because it's obvious that the way is it Don, the guy who was talking? He was saying it's either the Earth turning or the sky turning. Okay, well, that's simple enough. Okay, but you know what? In celestial navigation, they want you to have the Earth stationary and say the sky is turning. Why would they do that?
Because it is stationary, and we'd see Coriolis effect induced in anything in the inertial reference frame if it was turning beneath things in an inertial reference frame as a non-inertial turning reference frame, exactly as you see them on a roundabout, with things not attached to your roundabout as you spin. That would occur on Earth. It doesn't. Now, they claim it does. Here's how the flowchart breaks down. Claim. Globe. Claim. Earth is rotating underneath as a non-inertial turning reference frame to cause drift. Exampled by gyroscopes, pendulums, sniper's rifles, and Neil deGrasse Tyson's football example. They are all examples of Earth turning underneath stuff. That's the globe claim. So step one, what's the claim? Globe claims Earth turns underneath, 15 degrees an hour deflection will be the result. That's the globe claim. Next, flat Earth refutation of that claim. We don't see the effect. That's not happening. Neil deGrasse Tyson might say the ball deflected through the goal 1/4 of an inch because of the Earth rotation. Well, that claim doesn't pad out as soon as you look at anything that's in the air for a significant period, like a hot air balloon or a drone or an aeroplane. Now, if you go to citations from the globe to double check what they're claiming, they'll make it clear that Earth is claimed to rotate underneath aeroplanes at a slower rate, i.e. Earth's turning beneath them exactly as the claim is laid out. So step one, globe claims Earth turns underneath. Step two, flat Earth refutes that claim by pointing out Earth's not turning underneath Jack. Step three, anti-flat Earth refutation of the flat Earth debunking of the globe claim. So anti-flat Earth, step 3, we're not supposed to see drift. We wouldn't expect Earth to turn under a hot air balloon. So step 1, globe claims Earth turns under a hot air balloon. Step 2, flat earther points out Earth is not turning under hot air balloons. Step 3, anti-flat earther says Earth shouldn't be turning underneath hot air balloons. Did you want to present something, Adam?
If you don't mind, just we're talking about trying to see a phenomenon of this, which is one object leaving one reference frame, going into the other. This little clip's quite a good example of things we should experience if we're going to be investigating these things in supposedly happen in real life to then go and maybe bring a chainsaw out and science it. So this gent here with the beard, he's about to leave the reference frame of the boat, which is moving, rotating away from the stationary point of the when he grabs onto the bridge, and you'll just see from the perspective of the people that suddenly there appears to be this man flying at them, and just wipes them all out. So I'll just press play, and you'll oh. Why is it doing that? Probably not done that. So,
Oh dear.
crashed.
Wonderful. Slick.
Hey, good timing. That give me a
Flat Earth debate. This is slick showmanship right here.
Don't know why.
Well, if I may,
I would.
Please.
if I may, it's more of a what is question, like, you know, thermodynamic, second law of thermodynamics or entropy. It's a what is than more of a like a scientific hypothesis.
Yeah. Basically, yeah.
Right.
What
That
is
means
the
basically you have to
Let me just formulate it for him.
observe.
What is the cause of the deflection that we observe in the inertial reference frame? Obviously begging the question that we have a non-inertial reference frame just by my language. But what's the cause of that effect? Well, obviously it's Earth turning underneath. That's what the cause is. That's their claim. So go, okay. So you're saying the cause of the effect... We don't see the effect. That doesn't happen. Step 3, anti-flat earther. We wouldn't expect to see the effect. Quick shout out to... God, I'm going to butcher your name. Colby Bowman. Hope I've said that right. Probably not. You all have tough time with family/friends. Oh, do you all have a tough time with family/friends when talking about the globe lie? Some of my favourite people dismiss even my politics because I'm a crazy flat earther. That's a reasonable question. I'm going to put it to anybody who's in the panel, especially as Eli was trying to get in there. So Adam's got his functioning demo, which we'll get to in a second. Who wants to address, is it Colby? Hope I'm not saying your name wrong. Colby.
Yeah, okay. Well, to be honest, yes. I've been having a hard time since the beginning, since I got into this. When I first asked the community of my peers, hey, does something look fishy to you about the moon landings? And they were like, what are you, a flat earther? And I'm like, huh? And then I'm like, okay. Like 6 months later, I'm like, yeah, I think the earth is flat, by the way. And I got crucified. And then from then on, I'd say for a whole year, I decided, well, I'm going to get as knowledgeable as I can on the topic. And then I'll go back and I'll address things. And they despised me more. They just saw it as arrogance when I showed them information and showed them that they were wrong about the things that they thought. Because most of us just have our own belief about what the heliocentric model is. It's not until this topic I actually learned what it is they say and what I don't stand by. Because we just make it up until then, you know. And so showing that to people hasn't gotten any easier. As a matter of fact, at these anti-flat earthers and these forums, they kind of made themselves, in a way, enemies. I mean, you can't. They almost expect a battle when you mention that you're a flat earther or whatever, however you label yourself. And it's a sad thing, because I didn't come into wanting to know the truth. I didn't come into this expecting to fight my peers, so.
Hope that answers your question. Also, shout out to Ben White, who's joined as a hyena. Thank you very much indeed.
Can I add to that?
You can, but has Adam gone? Oh, I was going to move to Adam next, but yes, indeed, 10th. Go ahead.
Yeah, I've experienced what Eli's experienced, but I guess in retrospect, not at the time I was experiencing it, because at the time I was experiencing it, these were friends and colleagues that openly would listen to me on any subject. But now, well, not today, but a while ago, I realized that it's actually a test of how many people are parroting what they hear, not what they research. So if you got skin in the game, if you got money in something like an investment, you're going to want to know who else are the investors in the project, the character, the people who are handling the money, how soon the building is going to get built, and how soon are we going to flip it and make the profit. You're going to want to know every detail because you got money in the game. Well, when it comes to this subject, they got no money in the game. All they got is programming. And here we come and say, hey, do you think that moon landing was real? And all of a sudden, these people who would listen to you on any subject prior, all of a sudden think you're crazy. Now, what is that if not the best test in the world to find out who the zombies are, to allow other people to think for themselves? Flat Earth is the best test of everything, just to see if a person actually thinks for themselves. Because I've done the same thing with another group of people who say, you know what, that's an interesting thing you're saying. I've been seeing things on the internet about it. I haven't looked into it, but have you? Tell me what you found out. And all of a sudden I say, oh, a real human being. I can talk to this person, and every one of those people are flat earthers today because they're not under the drug. It's great. I love it.
Thank you for sharing the optimistic side. I totally forgot about that. That's true too.
Yeah, the investment isn't necessarily a financial one either. I mean, you can directly relate it to a financial investment when you're talking about things like university. So obviously that costs money. But time in general is, in my opinion, as if not more valuable than the finances that you get in exchange for it. More often than not, it's, devalued to a huge extent. But time is valuable. And this is something else I was talking about with my kid today. So we went to the library and I was explaining library fines to her. And she immediately equated it to, what she called it? We give a time out as a punishment, but they didn't call it that in her nursery. Time to think is the same as time out. In other words, time to think about what you've done wrong. And she equated that as the same as getting a financial penalty for not taking a book back. And I was like, well, it is the same, in many, many ways. Your time has a value, and you can exchange that time for finances depending on what you're doing with that time, and if it's useful for the person that wants to give you the money for you to use your time to maybe produce something. So I'm explaining all this to her, but at the same time, it's like when you talk to an anti-flat earther, they're heavily invested in heliocentrism, so therefore it's out of the realms of their possibilities to relinquish the heavy investment that they've placed upon that particular rhetoric when you contradict it in any way. So they just reassert the rhetoric. I've learned this rhetoric. It's too valuable to just relinquish. I'll just repeat it. It was of a high financial, high time consequence to me. Therefore, I ascribe a huge value to it. And if you just refute it with a good argument, I can just repeat it again because it's so valuable. actually one of the reasons I wanted to be a YouTuber, because I valued my time and thought, well, if I invest my time wisely in producing videos, I'll have more time for myself. How wrong I was. You think being self-employed is going to give you more time? Then you're absolutely idiotic. If you want to actually earn a living, you have no time. It's like zero. You know, I thought I was under the cosh when I was a rep, flying all over the place, like time limitations. I had what I thought was no time. It's like, yeah, I did. I had loads of time by comparison. I wasn't waking up and immediately dealing with YouTube, which is what life is like. I'm smiling though, because I do love what I do. I wouldn't have it any other way. Thank you to
Right.
all the people who support the channel. Really,
Oh,
really
there's
appreciate it.
There's a big advantage to doing that too, you know, to really doing your own project, doing your own channel, what you do, because you're the end responsible one for all the work you represent that is supposed to be also bring in some money. And because of that, you build more skill and you feel forced to even figure out new skills that you hadn't seen before just to be able to get by. While if you are employed in some typical working field or whatever, that you don't have that advantage. You're not going to be squeezed to develop unique personal new skills that might carry forth like your entire life, and you can even build upon that later, right? That development goes slower when you're just employed at some job. You might still develop yourself, but you won't be forced to, because you are effectively not as responsible for the entire process. Does that make sense?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
I was told something a long time ago. Well, not a long time ago, a little over 10 years ago, when I was working for this company. And they said, well, Eli, there are four quadrants. You can be an employee who has to exchange time for a wage. You can be an employer. You can be a business owner, or you can be an investor. And the investor leverages the most money for his time. And it's that's where the most freedom is. That's where I'm trying to go.
Fair enough. I see interesting things happening. I mentioned this yesterday about the Flat Earth People Finder and the Flat Earth, Sun, Moon, and Zodiac Clock app version of the same thing, i.e. a friend finder, I think it's labelled. And suddenly, there's competition. And you think, that's what drives these things forward, right? I'm smiling from ear to ear, because I bet that both of them I bet they hate each other. I don't need to go into it, but you know, competition does breed a higher quality product, and that's all that's happening right now. There's competition in the rank and file flat earthers to do a better job of bringing people together. You're like, man, isn't that amazing? Doesn't that bring a smile to all the people watching's faces? It certainly does me. Not that I want to see discord. You know, I don't want to see people falling out. That's not what I'm smiling about. I'm smiling about the fact that there's two products on the market, two apps that you can go out to press the flesh. Really, really important at the moment after COVID lockdowns. You know, it's a critical part of being a person, right? Pressing the flesh is an important thing. So the fact that there's two competing apps out there at the moment, both striving to get people interested, it's like, yeah, if the other one didn't exist, you might not be making this extra advert to try and promote people to your product, telling them about how you've polished it up a bit more recently. Yeah, wicked. So the quality and the standards are going up in Flat Earth. Couldn't be more pleased.
It worked. I mean, everyone has an entry point, and soon as I started hearing about this social aspect, I'm like, yeah, I'm sold. That's all I was waiting for. Now I bought the app.
Yeah, same here.
Shout out to Dave Weiss, and shout out to the other guy who's driving him, the competition.
Yeah, but well, Flat Earth, I'll just name the apps because that's the most important detail here. So you've got the Flat Earth, Sun, Moon, and Zodiac Clock app, and you've got the Flat Earth People Finder. So those are the two, I'm going to say it, competing apps, because they're competing for your business. They want you to go and join their group and download their app, right? One's free and one isn't. But off the back of it, right? So literally off the back of the the guy with the free app making a bit of a moany advert for Dave's app. I was like, I'm going to download these. So I coughed at the cash. I'm as tight as a duck's ass, I'm telling you. I am very, very tight. So don't get me wrong, Dave Weiss has been like, not nagging me, but he'll occasionally say, have you downloaded the app, or can you look at this on the app? I'm like, I'm not downloading that. It costs money. You're joking, right? You give me money. So, no, but eventually, like I say, off the back of somebody basically moaning about it, I was like, I'm going to download these.
I don't have to make an excuse because I don't have a phone with a computer on it, so...
Okay. What's your point?
That I'm not gonna download any apps.
Oh,
Even
okay.
if
Oh,
they're
sorry. I
good
see.
or
I thought
free.
you were
He's
being
letting us know that he's Grandparwin.
Grandpa win.
Thanks.
Grandpa win. I love it.
Boomer win.
He's got his flip phone. He's happy with that.
It's not even a flip phone. But it does have a color screen, man. Holy shit.
Do you clip it to your belt as well?
I don't even take my phone with me when I go out. Ever.
The
Unless
can
I have to
doesn't
like go on a train and be in reach of somebody, right? When you go to visit.
the can doesn't have long enough string, so it just works around the home.
What?
Yeah, I appreciate that, Arwen. I appreciate that's actually something, whether, I admit it or not, I don't know about anybody else. I strive to be that guy. I do love my Nathan in the morning and, these videos and all this. But honestly, when's the last time I left my phone home and took a book on the train? So.
You could do that. I don't even take a book. I just sit, look around at other people, look at what they're doing, how much they're focusing on their phone, what I feel they got in the back of their mind. I just start watching people.
Yep, that's right. Arwen's that guy on the train that sits there staring at you while you're just trying to look at your friend finder app.
But don't worry, I don't give scary stares. It's like if you notice me and I feel that you're nervous about it, I will look away. I'm not gonna glare at you like a psycho. Don't worry.
Okay, but let me just do a proper plug for Flat Earth People Finder and the Flat Earth Friend Finder apps, respectively. So check them out. Obviously, it's developed a bit of discussion as we've discussed it for the last couple of days. And I think it's very, very interesting, and I like both the apps. They've been very, very cool stuff. I'm really glad that people are out there doing this stuff. I know there's been people in the comments of both of them being critical of both of them as well, and I just think no need, right? Support these people. Don't chew the meat, spit out the bones. Don't support them being shits to each other if they are, right? I'm not saying they are or who is or if they are, but if they are, don't support that. Just support the apps and what they stand for and the principles of the apps. Because that's what their hard work is all about. If there's a bit of blood in the water, try to ignore it and focus on the fact that there's a beautiful white shark swimming around that you can jump on the back of and swim around. I don't know why I use that as an analogy, but that's what it came out as because there was blood in the water in the example.
Well, it's an okay example because I got to picture the sharks with smiles on their faces and friendly, cushy fins rather than scaly, scratchy ones. So.
That's what I was picturing. Happy, friendly sharks. Anyway.
Any more housekeeping questions?
Yeah. Any evidence of the distance to the sun?
It's over there. I can see it.
Yeah, with a bit of R, we could figure it out. But you would need R for that.
Until then, it's 3 AU away.
3 times the distance to a rainbow.
That's correct. Apparently
You're
so.
here. Without you, we wouldn't have any new nonsense to focus on, would we, Owen? It'd just be the dusty old heliocentric nonsense.
I guess so. Hey, but doing a boring job requires you to be self-entertaining. Anybody that's like worked 50 years or something as a cleaner or some other seemingly menial job, you have to be self-entertaining. You have to figure out how to keep going.
But what you
So-
do in your personal time is entirely your business, Arwen. Children listening.
What? No. What? No.
Any evidence of a self-perpetuating molten iron core at the centre of a presupposed spherical Earth?
Well, if it's presupposed and not measured to and discovered, then apparently not.
Or you're going to need half of that. Go on, someone say it so we can move on.
I was trying to think of a tool that started with R, but I couldn't think of one. Anyone else work with tools that can figure out some kind of digging tool that starts with an R?
Yeah, garden rake.
You're gonna need a rake for that.
You're going to need an half
I
for
don't know.
a molten iron core. We talked about Spurs chemo earlier, and I didn't really shout out a show. And I do find myself watching a show quite frequently. So the show, or the channel, is called Are You Smarter Than a Flat Earther? And Spurs chemo hangs around various different Discord servers, just ushering along the conversation as he does in his very special, unique way. Very entertaining to listen to. So check him out. He tends to title his videos Are You Smarter Than, and then the subject matter. So Are You Smarter Than Relative Density? Or something like that. You know, those are the sort of titles he puts to his videos. But check him out. So that's Spurs Chemo's channel. Are You Smarter Than a Flat Earther? And
Are you saying? Are you saying he's got one? Are you smarter than a rake?
a rake?
Yeah, Eli said rake, and then you went to Spurs chemo. So I thought you were tying the two together.
I think you're thinking a chainsaw, because we talked about him with a chainsaw in the analogy.
No, Eli just said rake.
No, I think he meant chainsaw.
Eli, speak up.
It could be anything.
Oh gosh.
So chainsaw then.
Let's just plow through to the next question. Come on.
Well, I'm going to do a quick shout out to a super chat first. So Ben White again, thank you very much for joining as a member and super chatting. So meteorologists have weighed rainbows and found out they're pretty light.
Yeah.
No way.
That is-
Wait, I didn't even mean to do that.
That's really clever.
Very clever.
I
love it. We like a good dad joke here on Flat Earth Debate. Any scientific evidence of gravity? Boom, boom.
Oh, scientific evidence, as in they determine the cause. No.
How about determining what it is first?
Yeah, how about showing an effect first? Right on, Arwen.
Did I tell you the story of the guy I'm doing work for? Or did you get any of it yesterday? Because I had bad reception. I was in Vermont. But I don't have any scientific evidence of gravity. But the guy I worked for started explaining it, that's why the water overflowed and drowned some people at elevators due to gravity. So I get into the whole thing with him, and I said, listen, bro, you're talking to a flat earther. So I was ready to go on my rant, and he starts telling me about flat earth. Starts telling me how the sun works and how the government's are lying to us. It's easy to keep sheep, thinking that there's nothing else out there. I was like, you're blowing my mind right now. Are you a flat earther? He said, I don't know if I'm a flat earther, but I just believe in reality. So that blew my mind.
Started by saying, I don't have any scientific evidence of gravity. And I thought you were going to go on to say, but if I did, it would be the best scientific evidence in the world. But he didn't. So I
Actually, he wants to come on your show.
And what?
Actually, he wants to come on your show as just a normal guy.
No, fair enough. He's all are welcome. Links below, in case you didn't realise. I do say at the beginning of every single show.
Does that mean the rest of us who are on the show are not normal guys?
I mean, like a normal guy that has no dog in the fight, that just believes in reality. And he was dropping some stuff on me now. He was talking about how the sun makes a circuit, and he goes up in planes, and forever he said that the horizon is always flat. I said, then what the hell are you telling me about gravity and water for? Threw me off, but but this is what I'm saying. It's out there. It's out there more than we know it's out there.
Yeah, that's true, Neil. I've been saying that for a minute. I'm not the guy saying that flat Earth is growing anymore. People are coming into the places that I talk about, various things, and they're offering up the information that flat Earth is growing. And I already knew that when I saw Dave Weiss go on Killer Priest podcast, and like 4,000 comments, you keep scrolling and scrolling, and they're just telling the globe earther, yo, shut the hell up. We're trying to hear the information.
Nice.
But that's the thing. We've carved out a community, and in spite of the fact that we're not promoted internally, that's why I constantly bark on about sharing the shows. Internally, the group of people that are aware of this subject is growing, regardless of whether or not there's claimed censorship or not, or lack of promotion, as I like to actually see it, because I don't see it necessarily what's happening as censorship, even though it is. I try and look on the bright side in that regard, because I'm a YouTuber, right? So I've got to look on the bright side when it comes to how much promotion I receive. In most instances, none. But I do, because we've got a growing community, and people do hit the share button. They will take the time out to stick it on Twitter or whatever. And that means that there's a need, a necessity within that growing community for a certain amount of competition amongst the quality of the product that's being provided. Certainly, I've tried to up my game in terms of the show quality, the audio performance and so on, because I want the quality of the product to shine above the rest of the other people out there who technically are my competitors. If I want to phrase it in this way, someone like Jaren, who's far more successful on YouTube than myself, I am competing with him for the select few people who listen to this material, and they can pick me or they can pick him. That makes him my competition in very literal terms. But that's good, because it means I've got to up my game. I've got to be as good as he is, or better, in order to try and attain the audience that might have watched him. Now, that's not to say that I want to crabs in a bucket style pull anybody who's in the community around me down. That's definitely not the attitude people should take. If you don't know what crabs in a bucket mentality is, just look it up. But anyway, that's not what I'm suggesting. I'm saying that should up everybody's game. Everyone should be looking to polish up their performance, do better. I try and encourage it from people who are around me. I mean, it doesn't matter how much I beg Arwin to do a thumbnail for his own show. It's an uphill struggle sometimes to get people to up their own game. But people's motivations differ, don't they, Arwin?
Sometimes I get a good idea about a thumbnail, and then I ask Adam, do you think this is a good thumbnail too? Yes? Okay, can you do it for me? And the other times I just don't know, I don't have an idea, and I just go back to the default, Because I'm not just gonna randomly slap shit together. I want it to have some kind of a meaning, like an esoteric meaning.
What are you going to do? Initially, just slap shit together, as you put it, and bosh it out there, and let it be open to criticism. When people say, no, the text is the wrong colour, or too small, or the picture's not relevant, well, just accept you've got a daily show, so there's plenty of opportunity to make a crappy thumbnail, and you're going to develop that skill by doing it. But just saying, I had a good idea for a thumbnail, I'll call Adam. Anyway, we shouldn't be doing this on a live show. I'm really
He's
sorry.
so good at it.
I know he's good at it, but you've just literally given my audience a lecture about upping skill levels and stuff, like 5-10 minutes ago.
Yes.
But he's saying up in the standards. He doesn't. I think he's taking the Oakley approach to things. If everybody does a little, he doesn't have to do it.
Yes.
out
The
means
Oakley
anything.
way. That's
Just-
right. The Oakley
Yeah,
way.
Nathan's
Remember that.
lazy.
I am
No,
lazy.
it's just
It-
one of my favourite
laziness,
lines that Nathan uses. I like that. I love that
laziness
line.
and efficiency are not mutually exclusive. Yeah.
Huh.
If you anybody ever seen the film Hollow Man?
Years ago.
Anybody
Excellent
seen
movie
Hollow Man?
with Kevin Bacon, yes.
Kevin Bacon, right? The Invisible Man. There's a part in the film, right, where they're trying to get invisibility to work, and the one professor or whatever you want to call him, Kevin Bacon character, just manages to do stuff. He just gets stuff done. He just instinctively knows what to do to make it work. And the other professors explaining this to the female lead by saying, in order to get to D, I have got to have B and C. Yeah? I can't just go from A to D. I need the B and C. And this Kevin Bacon character, he does it without the B and the C. He just goes from A to D. I need the B and the C. I've got to have the B and the C. Right?
That's why he got messed up at the end.
2 days in a row, we're talking about bacon still.
Kevin Bacon. Last time it was
bacon.
Last time it was bacon and real bacon, not Kevin Bacon. Equally delicious,
Yeah.
obviously.
The female lead was Elizabeth Shue.
Oh yeah.
She's a phenomenon.
Oh, you beat me 10th.
Wait, I set that one up perfectly.
Anyway, the point is
Can
that
she be buried and manipulated? Or?
well, the point is that there's certain things that people do that can appear lazy. If you're a lazy person, you're looking for the most efficient way to get something done. Now, that can, to the outsiders, seem like you're cutting corners. It's like, well, if I see a more efficient route, i.e. cutting the corner, isn't that the most sensible route? Because it cuts the corner off. You don't have to walk around the corner anymore. But that can appear to most people to be lazy. It's like, what can I do to put the minimum amount of effort in? Because then, typically, you get more done. Because you're not spending as much time walking around the corner. You can do other things with the time, which is valuable. So you might call me lazy, and yeah, I am. Doesn't change the fact that I work all damn day.
Me too.
I was only saying what you say about yourself, buddy.
Yeah. No, but seriously, I like it the way it's going. I'm very happy with sometimes having really good thumbnails and other times just not, because I use it as a contrast, right? It's just all expectancy. If you constantly nonstop up the game and keep it up there, people are just going to get spoiled by it and then be disappointed when you don't have it.
Sounds like a justification for not being asked.
Hey, I'm very efficient.
I can't be arsed.
Yeah.
Any more housekeeping questions?
Any single
I'm gonna
viable
be-
hypothesis from any of the fields of astronomy, cosmology, or astrophysics?
Hell no.
Hell no. Any
Come on,
evidence
they
you can
scored
have
out.
gas pressure without the necessary antecedent of a container to press upon?
Requires at least 3 containers.
3 broken legs.
Thought that maybe someone could give me the definition for gas pressure after I tell you that the pressure of the sun is equal to 340 billion times the Earth's atmos pressure.
How'd you know that?
I Googled it.
Must be true then.
Must be true. If he Googled it and it came up on a search result, was it the top result? Because if so, it's definitely true.
It's the most true. They put the most true stuff at the top.
That's true. That was at the top of a Google search, wasn't it, Adam?
Yeah.
The most is truest.
I think we covered all the housekeeping questions, 10th.
Good.
I know you're keen.
Well, yeah, I mean, we were just getting into subjects that belong in the pre-show.
Adam, did you want to go back to your video about the guy on the bridge?
No, I didn't. Did you see it crashed my whole computer? I got kicked out. I couldn't.
I did wonder why you dropped.
Yeah, for some reason.
Well, we saw it. I saw it.
Yeah.
I mean, I saw what you wanted us to see. You knocked out your computer in the meantime. At the same time, we saw.
I've posted the link in Master B if anyone wants to.
So you're saying
You want
just a link to a buggy video that crashes your computer? I could be playing that.
You
Tempting.
You could give it a go right now and see if it's just my crap machine or whether it is riddled with something.
Tempting, but no.
That's like, this tastes disgusting. Here, have some.
Exactly. Man, this thing completely destroyed my computer. Check it out. I'll send it you via email.
Yay. It could be the file format. Some file formats for info kind of like are extra burdeny on the memory, and then it'll just make your computer crash every time.
Arwin knows what makes a good live show.
Okay. I'm sorry, I've just noticed that. Like sometimes you download certain files, video files, and then they give it in like an awkward format that's not really standardized. And then you might be able to play it, but it can then give a lot of issues and even make your computer crash because it just doesn't really sit well with how the memory works.
I've been racking my brains. How can I end this? Quick, do something. Straw poll. If you're in the chat, type 1 if you've downloaded either the Flat Earth Sun Moon Zodiac Clock app with its Flat Earth Friend Finder. No, that's wrong, isn't it? No, it is right. Friend Finder. And or if you've downloaded the Flat Earth People Finder, type 1 in the chat. Obviously, you don't need to type anything if you haven't downloaded either or of those two apps, but I'd be interested to see if people watching the show have actually downloaded it. While we're doing that, because it's the only thing that popped into my brain to stop Arwin talking about what he was talking about. Who here has downloaded it? I have. Or them, I should say.
To avoid the issue with the video files, I download VLC. That has given me the least problems with foreign format files.
I've just put it in the
Flat Earth People Finder. Is that what you said?
I've done that. I've just put that in the chat. So if anybody wants to have a go at wrecking the computer or seeing that file, it's in there.
Yes, thank you, Adam. I'm sure my chat participants are going to be really grateful. So there's quite a few number ones spinning on by. Who in the panel here has downloaded? Not Arwin, obviously.
I've just done it, Nathan. The free one. I'm on there now, and I found Riley. I was having a look for you. Yeah, quite cool.
Is the free? Well, I guess I won't ask if the free one is worth it because it's free. I can just download it. But I did download David Weiss's app, and also
So you can find everybody else that has the app downloaded as well, that type of thing.
Yeah, it's so awesome. It's like Flat Earth just went social. We no longer have to step into anti-Flat Earth bars, just places where you think you're gonna have normal conversation. Turns out everyone's against, you saying the moon landing was fake.
They ain't gonna
Turns
be
out
happy
you can
about
find-
that.
They're not. We don't need you. We got friends. They're down the block.
We did make the suggestion yesterday about making the anti-Flat Earth Friend Finder, and you can connect with your Simon Dans and your Craigs and stuff and share your pain together.
Yeah. That's
Flat Earth Friend Finder. That's hilarious. Oh.
they do need to find each other though.
Yeah, you can share your views on what you think the nature of reality is not.
Need to find themselves first.
Very well put, Adam. Yes, indeed. Yeah, you'd need to find yourselves first. Yeah, you'd need to have a soul. Nah, that doesn't apply. You can join the anti-Flat Earth Friend Finder app. Just press the flesh with other flat earthers. There's sub-communities within it. I envisage having the subcategory of people who hate Jeranism, people who hate Nathan Oakley, people who hate David Weiss. That sort of thing. And you can all congregate together and talk about how, we're not supposed to see drift. Earth's not supposed to turn underneath. You can all have those sorts of conversation. It'd be great.
How flat earthers define our lives, evening.
Yeah, exactly. Anti-flat Earth is very hot right now.
No, it's not.
It is. It's heavily promoted on YouTube. You type in flat Earth, bang, you're straight in there with anti-flat Earth. It's amazing. Just type in flat Earth and you'll find anti-flat Earth. They don't put hashtag anti at the beginning or anti-hyphen or anything like that. It's just, that's your flat Earth search engine now, is flat Earth is actually anti-flat Earth. If you type in flat Earth into a Google or YouTube search engine, what you get back is anti-flat Earth. It's really hot. That's what you get. Back in the days, we used to get that promotion. You'd type in flat Earth and you'd find me. It was amazing. Oh, them were the days.
In them days, you could search YouTube, couldn't you, and find stuff out. New stuff was coming out. You type that in and it'd all pop up. Just type in. I used to remember just going in and type flat Earth and then go to options and select live. And there'd be a string of multitude of different flat Earth channels, some with 1 viewer, 10 viewers, you know what I mean? But they'd all be there for you to. Now they're not even at the bottom of the list.
Yeah, I remember that. I haven't searched. I used to do that search daily. So exactly that. You'd type in flat Earth, you'd click live as the subcategory, and then you'd find whatever was on and just go and watch it and sit in the chat. Now, like I say, I don't even know what you'd get. I've given up that search type ages ago because it's just fruitless.
That's how I found this show.
I guess it's also a good thing to note that not only can you find people on the Flat Earth Sun and Moon app, I think that's what it's called. You can also find those videos that are so hard to find because they I don't know what their algorithm is or how they do it, but there's a whole bunch of videos that are hard to find on YouTube now. So that too.
Yeah, there's a lot more to the Flat Earth, Sun, Moon, and Zodiac Clock app. I mean, they've got a whole little section with memes. There's attached videos. I'm in there, so if you go to the video section, which is a little spider web icon, at the bottom left, there's Flat Earth debates, and all they are is anything that's less than about 5 minutes-ish in length. I've done a specific list that goes directly to the app, so that Flat Earth debate is on that app. So if you just want the short clips, there they are. And yeah, I don't know if it develops massive amounts of views for me or anything, but it's part of the app that's definitely kept up to date. I know because I'm the one keeping that particular part of it up to date, just because I've got a playlist that's presumably embedded in that particular part of the app. But it's cool, you know. I went to it and looked at it. I'm like, wow, this functions really well. So yeah, there's a lot more to it than just the bit that's got publicity, because there's two competing applications that do essentially the same thing. You know, there's the Flat Earth People Finder and the Flat Earth Friend Finder. And, you know, I hope everyone downloads both. I think it's very cool.
Okay, my turn. I have to do this email so I can get paid. So the boss sent me something. Let me read it. David Weiss is great. Subscribe today. Thank you.
With that, I'm going to say a huge, massive, enormous thank you first and foremost to both Discord and G+ panels for making today's live show possible. If you are watching this on either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley premiering streams, however, stay tuned as there will be an after show to follow. Another massive thank you to all of you who smashed the super chat, liked, commented, shared, subscribed, and all that good stuff. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I will see you all in the next video.
What a lovely day!
And then he goes, so if we're one of these, it should be flat. I mean, it shouldn't be flat, right?
Well, I mean, if it's
You're done
curving,
over there
then
already?
the light won't reflect to you because it'll be on the other side of the curve. So.
You should redirect them to forget about that because they're going to go to locally flat and the Earth is so big. You should just say, well, what's the nature of water? What's the behavior of water?
You know, when people talk about, you know, the circle around them when they're out at sea, and maybe this is a good segue, but like, you know, they admit, I mean, you just go to any video post 2020 and they're like, you see out there, you know, there's this circle around you and everything is flat there. But beyond that, it's curving away from you.
How is that the case if we're on a ball that's curving 8 inches per mile squared from your location?
Well, part of that statement you just said is a circle around you. How about circle of equal altitude of a star that you sight with a sextant, and its radius is 3,000 miles away from you, and it all has to be flat? Your limitation of your eyes give you your circle, but the sextant is looking in the sky where that star is already got an address 3,000 miles away from you in a book.
Well, wait a minute. What are you saying, Seth? That sounds like a grand, outrageous claim. Like, we've heard of the Black Swan where you're like, well, you know, at least, you know, for this observation, it's flat all the way as far as we can see to that 10-mile distance there. That horizon should definitely be 10 times closer. But you're talking about 3,000 miles. What do you mean by that?
Well, you know what I mean. It's not my claim. It's on all the celestial navigation sites. That's how the sextant works. It's a right-angled instrument. It's a glorified protractor. It can only in every one of these, they're always between 0 and 90. Oops, was I supposed to mention 90?
Oh man, that's interesting.
So you're saying like 3,000 miles away, the GP of a star can be at the equal altitude of the star at your GP? That's what you're saying?
Well, we both have a GP, ground position or geographical position, right? So for me, my zenith is directly above me. For the sun or whatever star I'm shooting, that's 3,000 miles away. That's directly over that spot on the Earth. That's its zenith. We call it altitude, or should I say, celestial navigation calls it altitude, and that's basically straight up and down. So, because that's the GP. Now, from you to that, you have to use 0 to 90. Where is it for you when you're observing it? It's not over your head, or else you'd be under the sun. So it's there in the sky, you shoot it, and it might give you a reading of 50 degrees, let's say. Well, what's 50 minus 90? Does virus around?
No need.
Go there.
No need.
Well, no, I'm serious. I mean, this is the way it works. So you got 40. You go to the book and say, where is the sun 40 degrees directly? Where is the sun directly right now? And if I have a 40 degrees to it, it's going to show you on the perimeter of a circle. And from the center of that sun's GP to you, just take your compass and you draw a circle. You're somewhere on that circle. You take a second reading of another star or wait a while and do the sun again. And you get them to cross, and you're one of those two places you have a fix. I mean, it's their own videos. It's their own language. We don't have to even elaborate or fabricate or exaggerate. Just read how celestial navigation works. It can only work on a flat plane because you need a 180 straight line underneath you to the GP, or it can't work. You can't get an angle any other way.
We interrupt this to bring you a super chat announcement. So after the show finished, Eli F dropped $5.
Wait, who? That's me.
It's not.
Oh. Okay. I was gonna say, wait, that's Eli.
It's just Eli F, not Eli Freeman, or Elijah, I should say. Move my little icon so I can show your surname. Anyway, sorry, I didn't mean to break up the flow there, 10th man. Indeedy weedy.
No problem. But just, where are the ballers? Where are the anti-flat earthers? I thought they had something to prove. They troll real well.
They're still trying to figure out how to measure from gravity or whatever the hell that clown said the other day. Oh my god.
Nathan, I'm
You guys
sending
were
you a
talking
slide.
about you guys.
Go on, Eric. Eric?
You guys were talking about back in the early days of YouTube when you could search flat Earth and like find everything. And I just want to say, like, congratulations to you guys on figuring it out back then, because I remember when I've always been a truther guy. Like, I've always been looking. I remember when that first came out, and it was like all over the place, and I could search it and stuff, and I would just like see that. I think it was so dumb because in my life, in my real life, like my family lives on a Great Lake, and I remember thinking that the Earth was flat when I was a little kid, and my dad was like, "See out there," and he showed me a ship going over the horizon and it, like, disappearing bottom up, and so that was like anchored in my mind. So I used to leave troll comments like, uh, "You could see the ship going over the horizon," and then one day I saw a video of it, like someone zooming in with the P900, and my mind just was blown. I was like, "What?" Like, it comes back up over the horizon. Like, I couldn't believe it. And I don't know how you guys got past that first part, like the anchor in your mind where you're like, I'm actually gonna look at this and give it some time, because I was
I
just
never had one.
a dick back then. Like,
I never had one. I think Chocolate would agree. So quite contrary, I was searching for that anchor and never found it.
Yep. That boat shit never was an anchor for me. That never convinced me. I had already spent way too much time thinking, about all the other things. That little optical magic trick wasn't enough to do it for me. I had all types of other things I was thinking about, like how the hell do we have, how am I breathing? How are people standing antipodal to me? How's water, bodies of water curving around, maintaining the outside? I had so many things, like the boat going over the horizon with it disappearing bottom up. That was weak sauce to me. So that was an easy one for me. As soon as I saw a boat zoomed in and that was supposedly gone, over the horizon, that was like, oh, okay, that's done, I guess. I never held on to that. But I get it. Some people, they just accept it. They see that one thing and it's like, oh, okay, that makes sense.
yeah, that's what I had. But when I was really young, I remember thinking that the Earth was flat when I was like maybe 6. Like, no one had told, like, I hadn't really had a conversation about it, and my dad just asked me. He's like, "Do you know what shape the Earth is?" And I said, "Flat." I remember that specifically.
I never even had a chance to have that conversation. It mostly that went on in my own head. And to me, I wasn't thinking, is it flat? I was thinking, why is it not curved? Why is it not the way they're presenting it to me as it has to be? And then getting on a plane and going up real high and you're thinking, well, damn it. But at least on a plane, I'd be high enough to see this crap. But it just still looks, flat. Not supposed to be, I don't think, because, there's that story again about boats and shit going over this curve. So where is it now? That I'm, 40,000 feet above it. Where the hell is it? But I could see it from a beach? Nah. This is crap. Straight crap.
But, you know,
Nathan, I got that slide once you're ready, Master B.
Okie dokie.
All right, so we got two coordinate systems. We got one that's a sky map, and the other one that's Earth-based. Sky map one is called declination and right ascension, or RA/dec. Like altitude in the sky, this is obviously the declination part I'm reading in that box. 0 equator, a plus 90 to minus 90. So the celestial sphere basically has an imaginary equator line that matches with the Earth, but it's a sky map, sky-based. Right ascension, like longitude, but in the sky. Starts at the prime meridian. What they got is first point of Aries is their Greenwich Mean Time, but it's in the sky. It's based on an hourly method. Each hour equals 15 degrees. Sound familiar? Let's go to the Earth-based coordinate system. It's altitude and azimuth. Altitude, I'll come back to. Let's start with azimuth. Side to side starts at the north, north being 0. And when you come all the way around, it's 360. But east would be 90, south would be 180, and west would be 270. And then when you go back up, you get your 360. That's your bearing in degrees, like with a compass. The altitude, height above horizon, up and down. Angle measured with sextant. We'll come back to that. The high point is 90 degrees. Zenith. Either over your head is a zenith, but you're not measuring over your head. You're measuring a star that's somewhere over the Earth. It's providing a geographical position. And there's your 90 there. And then what's the other one? It's the 0. It's the horizon. If you weren't looking for the 90, you'd have a 180, a straight line. The minute you put a GP on that straight line, it becomes a right angle and a 90. Because you're no longer, I mean, you've seen a perpendicular, right? So I can put another slide, but basically I want to go to that red dot next to angle measured with sextant. What does that sextant do? Anyone?
Is it rhetorical?
Yeah. What does it say?
Measures angles.
Measures angles. What's an angle? Death of the ball.
Cool. Very cool.
Two lines, aka two tangents intersecting at a vertex.
Not two tangents, just two lines.
Okay, two lines. Trying to get fancy. My bad.
Trying to get fancy. I just throw in a tangent for the sake of being swish.
All right, Nathan, I got that one slide I said I'd put up, so it's up now.
You said vertex. Vertex is pretty fancy. Got it
That
up.
is kind of fancy though.
Go ahead, 10th.
All right, so here's the observer. Directly above him is the zenith. There's a star. It's directly over a flat plane. There's your 90 to it. There's the azimuth. North is identified there. You start coming down from north until you line up with your star. And now you got your bearing. You go to the book, do your line of position. You go through the math. You're on your way. You just figured out where 3,000 miles away is on the flat plane with that star directly over that spot, because sextant can only measure this angle. See that bottom line? That's straight. There's no curve there.
Yeah, it's just unfortunate that this is depicted inside a sphere. so it kind of gives the hint of being spherical in its kind of presentation, but you know, you're just assuming that the area of equal altitude is just a circle around you on any given bit of land. So obviously, although it's depicted in this circle, the land could extend out massively and will extend out massively in all directions from this particular observer point. But what you're trying to acquire is this straight line, this radius, to the circle all around you, after acquiring the angle to the star, so you can draw out a triangle. That's all you're trying to do. Well, what's a triangle? Do any of the sides curve in a triangle? Surprisingly not. So the principle relies upon the flat plane that we dwell atop in order to work, and work it does.
Nathan, I'm gonna send you one more that will address what you just said. They use this Muppet vision, circles and spheres, just to confuse you, but the tool can't work that way. So it's like deception on a level of knowledge. They know what they're doing, the people who do these drawings.
Somebody want me to shout out, I'm sorry, this has just come up in between, so I might as well just do it as it's in between. So Flatzoid's got a show that's starting in 4 hours. It's obviously going to have already aired by the time you watch this, unless you're a channel member of Nathan Oakley 1980. Become a channel member today, and then this will be relevant. But yeah, Flatzoid's got a show. It starts in 4 hours, according to the screenshot that somebody just dropped in between this presentation. So thank you for that, but I'll move on to your next screenshot if you continue, 10th man.
Yeah, here's a better view of what the sextant does without the hokey pokey Muppet vision. This is a top view, as you can see on the left. And to the right, you see a side-on view that matches what's actually happening. Of course, it's condensed because that star is at a GP some 3,000 miles away. But you can see the one, the right angle that has to be achieved, right? Because the star is going to hit the Earth directly underneath. So that's going to be the GP. And then you've got this right angle triangle, and you're figuring out the hypotenuse of it. The base is straight, right? And then you look on the left and you say, oh, well, here's what we just saw. There's north, and you start bringing your azimuth and figure out what your bearing is. And that's a flat circle of equal altitude. So this is more like what it should be, and this is what it is. But they like showing it on a two-dimensional circle so that they can keep you hoodwinked that you still live on a globe. But the problem is the tool they're using can't work on a curved surface. So if the tool you're using can't work on a globe or a curved surface, why do they keep depicting it with a globe and a curved surface if it isn't intentional?
Same reason they put a globe on the front of your science textbook and label it science. Same reason.
Yeah, same reason. But what I want the audience to understand is the sextant can't work with a curved surface. That's why it's the year of the sextant. It's a, what'd you say, Nathan? It's a globe killer and a flat earth proof all at the same time.
Yeah. Obviously, if you're utilizing a straight line from your position to the star along a flat surface because you're going to be making a triangle with it, that proves that what you're working with is a flat surface. Now, simultaneously, it's not a curved surface, right? So this doesn't work on a curved surface. It's triangulation. It needs a flat bottom to the triangle. And it works with the GP of the star being below it 90 degrees to your position. That's how it works. It's just as simple as that. So this doesn't work on a sphere, cannot work on a sphere, isn't applied on a sphere. And their talk around after it's been done on a flat surface is irrelevant because it's not done that way and assumes are. But moreover, it's not done that way. So the fact that they can describe how they would do it on a sphere, oh, that's how you would do it on a sphere. It's not done that way, though. It's done on a flat plane. So it simultaneously proves the flat plane and debunks the sphere.
I got one more up if you want to go to the next one.
Yeah, in between I stuck up your 2021 Year of the Sextant picture, but yeah.
Oh, okay, nice.
Yeah, okay, you got your triangle in a circle.
All right, so according to them, the measurement's being taken from the center of a presupposed globe with a radius. But you're going to need R for that. Black Swan took care of that. So if we're going to carry on with their imaginings, their false representations of reality, you can't even do it from the center, as seen here. You're going to have a cord there. The sextant is being used on the surface of that arc. That arc cannot work with the sextant. Sextant cannot work with that arc. Notice how they have straight lines within the circle, but they have to deal with that arc. If you flatten that arc, as Brian has said, the distances would change. Well, that's secondary to the fact that a sextant can't even work on an arc. So it's the death of the globe. Doesn't make any sense. And even for this, if they want to close their eyes and say, well, but this is what I've been told, there's another thing that has to happen for this, which dies right here, by the way, is that sunlight has to come in parallel. So it's not just this, but sunlight has to come in parallel. So you can have a corresponding angle on the surface. The problem is sunlight doesn't come in parallel, it's divergent, corpuscular rays. Sextant doesn't work on a curved surface. And you got an issue here, because if the measurement is said to have come from the center, then you got a cord, and the sextant isn't going through the earth to get that measurement. It dies so many wounds. It's hard to know if it's 1,000 stabs with a knife or 10,000 stabs with a knife. It doesn't even make sense.
Good stuff. I was drawing over the bits that you were referring to as you were referring to them, so hopefully it makes a little bit more sense visually as you're watching along.
Somebody from Discord wants to jump in with it just because you don't understand.
Well, this will be the last call. The last call for fundies from Discord. Anyone up for a row? Now's your time.
Sad. Very sad. How many people are in Discord? Let me let the audience know. 27. Now, I don't know how many of them are flat earthers. I haven't counted, but I see some globers in there, and they refuse to speak. How lovely is that?
They're smart, Eli. They're smart. They know if they speak, what will happen.
A rap.
From our rapper, that is a rap.
They're not required. I had Bev Try Thinking. He's getting a lot of promotion from me at the moment. Yeah, I promote the people that I like watching, and I like watching Bev. And he was pointing out to a couple of his compadres that they are superfluous requirements. You don't need them. And even by definition, in terms of debate, is it like, oh, well, if there's no anti-flat earthers here yelling at you and ignoring everything you say, does that mean it's not a debate anymore? Well, no. As long as both positions get put forward. Further to that, there was a commenter that pointed out that there's no garbage accepted in this arena here, right, on Flat Earth Debate, on my show. Doesn't matter if you're on the Flat Earth side, anti-Flat Earth side, or globe side. In other words, Flat Earth to Flat Earth, if there's nonsense being spouted, you know, I hate to do this to Arwin, but Arwin's a good example of this because he knows the score, so he can happily play along and have this position that he's going to put forward on behalf of the globe believers. That's what he's doing. That means that often he'll interject with anti-Flat Earth rhetoric while he's trying to put a globe position across, but that's realistic. And it's because we're adept at knowing how the debate rolls that we can concisely summarise and put forward, with the obfuscation tactics required, I might add, the globe position and anti-Flat Earth position. So therefore, in terms of how the debate is structured, the positions get put forward and they get pulled apart. So I'm more than happy if there's no anti-Flat Earthers to cause a distraction while that process is going on in debate. And it's easy to play devil's advocate. In fact, to be a good debater, you've got to know your opponent's position inside out, back to front, better than they know it in order to win. And every single one of my panel members, that would be, in this instance, 10th Man, Arwin, Neil, Adam, Chocolate, and Eli, are all 100% adept at that. They could all parrot off the globe position easily all day long and fight it. Convincingly, I would almost put, if there was one of our random anti-flat earthers out there, and you were to ask me to put money on who I thought would put a more convincing globe argument together, my money would be on my team. I.e., everybody you see on screen right now, I would say they would be able to do a better job of convincing an audience member that they are on a sphere than any of our competitors, because they know the argument better than they do.
Well, we should just be happy that they've tapped out. They don't even want to come in the ring of debate anymore. They know they've lost. They've tapped out. The absence is saying they're bowing. You won. Flat Earth panel, you won.
It says in the Discord chat, Virus says, I'm not speaking out of respect.
Oh, thank you.
Don't even respect your damn self.
So we won then. You're tapping out. Wonderful. Thank you.
Come in here bullshit. You want to talk about respect?
Okay,
Come on,
I'm back now.
Virus.
I was not tapping out. I just wasn't in the situation to actually speak.
You're not required to. There's nothing that you've got to address. Don't feel that you need to jump in if you don't want to. Just giving you a bit of stick. I would take that bit. Hold on. I'm going to get this in because I get accused of making him my pet or something, right? Take that as a sign of affection from my panel, Virus.
I take it back. I thought you were being sarcastic, Virus, but if you're talking about your background noise, fair play, bro.
Yeah, I just want to ask Virus after.
Yeah, I just couldn't talk at that moment.
Virus, after all this time now, can you tell us how a sextant works?
Yeah, by getting relative angles between the horizon and the celestial body.
Oh, that was more concise than I could have given. Kudos.
Well, that's the start because that's what it says. But now, please define an angle.
Was it the point of two lines of vertices of two lines, point where two lines meet? I'm not sure what you mean.
Well, 0 to 90 on the scale, and if say the sun is at 50 degrees when you get the angle to it, the two lines are a 90-degree right triangle, correct?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Right triangle. Yeah.
Yeah. How can you have a right triangle on the surface of the Earth if the Earth is curved?
I'm not sure what you mean.
Well, when the sun is over a certain position, I am. When the sun is directly overhead at a certain position at a certain time, it's in a book called the Nautical Almanac. And when you shoot it at 50 degrees and go through the math, because you do have an angle to it, a right triangle for triangulation, it says it's 3,000 nautical miles from you. Now, that can only happen if that 3,000 nautical mile is flat, or else you can't get that angle, because you can't get an angle and the sextant is inoperative on the curved surface. Do you understand?
Okay, from what I understand is when you get the relative angle of the object in the sky, I'm not understanding why you think this is impossible on a globe Earth. You just use the relative angles, you can subtract it or whatever, and then you can add it to get your 90. The position of 90 is just right above you. So I'm not understanding what's so hard about that.
No, that's your zenith. That's your zenith. You're not measuring your zenith. You're measuring a star.
Yeah, no.
That's three. Okay. Well, if you're measuring a star and you're pointing the sextant towards that star, you bring it down to the horizon, which is flat, level, horizontal. And the angle from the horizon to that star, say, is 50 degrees. And you go through the Nautical Almanac, where that star is supposed to be at the time you took it, because you have to write down the time. Then it says you're 3,000 nautical miles from that star. Well, the sextant can't work on a curved surface. It's inoperable. It has to have two straight lines to create the vertex. It's for triangulation.
Are you
need
saying
three
that
straight
you're?
lines.
Oh, my bad. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, go on.
I was gonna say. So, are you saying that your eye level isn't a straight line?
Well, they consider that dip correction, but it's not your eye level the way you think. It's how far are you above the surface of the ocean. So if you're in a sailboat, you might be 16 feet up where your eyes are, because 10 foot up and you're 6 foot man. So there's your 16 feet. You got to bring that down. It's called dip correction. It's got a dip correction table in the Nautical Almanac, and it's in minutes. So this has to be precise because you've got to get that baseline straight. So
Sorry,
if you're,
I'm sorry to interrupt. I'm sorry to see a virus, just for my audience's benefit. So on this diagram here, if you were to take the measurement from the top of the sail, from the top of the mast, right, to the star, that's going to alter the angle because your GP and the star's GP are meeting at the same place. In other words, your zenith is at 90 degrees to the parallel position on the ground, but if you raise yourself above that straight line above the on the ground beneath the star, you're going to have to correct for the fact that you're higher up now when taking this angle. So there's a dip correction, which is basically just a height correction. So you adjust your height to put you on the ground to make the triangle, because obviously you're not making a triangle with a random straight line in midair. You've got the ground to go by, and that's precisely where the GP of the star is going to be, below it on the ground with a 90-degree angle to you measuring it on the ground. And if you're not on the ground, you've got to correct for that. That's all it is. Virus, do you want to respond to that?
Okay, so after you do all that, your zenith, you're not measuring the zenith though. So, but at your zenith, it doesn't matter if you're raised up or not. It's still your zenith, regardless if there's a hump or if that circle is flat. The only thing is, when that circle is flat, you can use the LOP. I mean, you can't use just the LOP for your triangulation. The reason it's a circle of equal altitude is because the LOP is of equal altitude. The rest of it doesn't need to be flat. The LOP is the only important thing when it comes to the triangulation.
If you've got,
excuse me,
just
define LOP.
Just 1 second. So if you've got an LOP, right?
Line of position.
I know what an LOP is. Right, that line can't have a curve to it. That line would be a chord line dissecting a curved surface if it was to be utilised. So when you've got a line of position, the line itself is straight.
The line itself is a circle.
Sorry, are you dumb? Are you going to tell me that a line is a circle? Are you seriously stupid? A line is a line, a circle is a circle, right? A line of position, right? So you've got a line that comes out from your position to the edge of the circle. That's a radius. That's giving you a radius. It's straight, not bent.
The line of position, position isn't the radius. It's the perimeter of the circle.
Correct.
Akio, what do you know about sextant?
Hold on.
Do you know
Hold on.
about sextant,
Hello?
or do you
What? Hello?
Sorry, mate.
10th man, go ahead.
Yes. You both are saying almost the same thing. Virus. The circle of equal altitude, it has, say, a diameter of 6,000 miles. You're somewhere on that circle. You don't have charts big enough on the boat to draw this out. What's wrong with this guy? Anyway, so what they do, Virus, and you know this, they bring it down to, once they have a fix, when they do 2 or 3 of these, and on the chart, even though it's a circle of equal altitude, when they bring it down to that specific smaller scale, that arc on that circle does look like a straight line, indeed. And that's the line of position. But it's still based off of what Nathan is saying, the radius, which is where the GP of the star is 3,000 nautical miles away. That line to your intercept for your fix, that is straight. That is not curved. and it's always straight. What you're talking about, Virus, is when you zero in on your fix, because it's such a tight window for it, that curved line appears straight on your chart because you use your ruler to make the X to where the two circles meet. But don't play games. Virus, what's an angle and a sextant? Can it work with one of the parameters being a bent surface? Or is the sextant inoperable once you bring a bent surface to it? That's the question here. Is the sextant an angle measuring device as it's said to be, or is it not?
It is an angle measuring device that measures relative angles of the horizon and the celestial body. So yes, it measures angles.
Welcome to Flat Earth.
Well, yeah, thank you. Thank you, Nathan. Welcome to Flat Earth.
Welcome to the Flat Earth. Yeah.
Okay, do you know what a vortex is? A vertex?
Yes.
Okay. You've got one of the lines that meets the vertex coming from the star's position to your position. Do you understand?
Okay.
The line that you're measuring the angle of, you're pointing your sextant at a star and measuring its angle. So you've got one line from your position to the star. That's one line, and it's meeting at a vertex. You understand?
Yep.
Yep. The other line, straight line, in order to achieve that, is running along the ground. You understand that, right?
Before the dip angle, no. But after the dip correction, maybe.
Okay.
But not before.
Okay. The guy's doing it on the ground, as in this example. He's basically on the water in his boat. On the water. There's no dip correction in this example whatsoever. He's in a tiny little sailboat. So he's not doing any dip correction. He's just measuring an angle. Now, I've got you to concede we've got a straight line to the star. What's the other line? Along the ground, right?
Straight line to the horizon.
Straight line to the horizon.
Straight line to the horizon.
So we've got a straight line from this position to the horizon. Well, in your globe world, that's a bent line, not a straight one. So welcome to Flat Earth. It's measuring a straight line to the horizon. You don't have that on a globe.
Yeah,
sorry, I'm making my conclusion.
Yes, you do.
I'm making my conclusion.
Okay. My bad. Go ahead.
Yeah, you can detect the conclusion coming. That's why you started interrupting it. So we've got a vertex, we've got two straight lines, and you've just conceded one of them is a straight line out to the horizon. You don't have that on a globe, Virus. Period.
Yes, you do.
No, you do not. Stop. Don't tell me that you've got... Stop. Do you understand that you have atmosphere on the globe?
Yep.
Then you never, ever, ever have a straight line to anything. Do you understand?
No, it's called your eyesight.
Sorry, it's called standard refraction. It's light bending as a standard through sphere-shaped air. Are you denying standard refraction on a globe?
No, are you?
Well, then you've got standard refraction on a globe. So you have never, ever got this scenario with a straight line that you describe out to the horizon. You don't have that on a globe. Period.
Okay.
Okay. That's the end of the argument for a globe. You require a straight line. You do have one, and it works. Ergo. Not bent, as it must be and always is in your fantasy world of being on a sphere. No straight lines ever. This requires them. Along the ground, straight and flat, towards the horizon, as you've conceded. Welcome to Flat Earth. You don't have this straight line on your globe. Period.
We do. It's called looking at it. When you
looking at it through sphere-shaped air will bend the light at a standard rate of atmospheric refraction, otherwise known as terrestrial refraction, otherwise known as standard refraction, through sphere-shaped air occurring always. You don't have this straight line. Looking at it? What do you mean looking at it? That's not going to give you a straight line on a globe.
The it does give you a straight line.
No, it doesn't. You've just hand-waved my description of air being sphere-shaped on a globe and having a standard rate of the light bending always.
That affects what you see, but it doesn't.
Yes, so we can't see a straight line then?
affect anything straight.
So you can't see a straight line then? You can't do this on a globe then? Yeah, it affects what you can see, so you can't get a straight line. You don't have one.
You still have a straight line.
No, you don't. Not on a globe. Don't just tell me that you have. You haven't.
I'm telling you, you
don't just tell me. I've debunked it based on the rhetoric of a sphere with sphere-shaped air, an atmosphere, and light bending around it always. Tough luck. You don't have a straight line. End of argument for you. Don't just tell me that you can get one by looking at it, when looking at it involves the light bending on your globe world.
Why don't you look at how eyes look at stuff and not
on a sphere? They look through sphere-shaped air, so we haven't got a straight line. So don't describe how optics work when on your globe you always have light bending.
And you still have a straight line by looking.
Refraction comes back to bite you guys, doesn't it?
Yeah, sorry. Sphere-shaped air, standard refraction. You don't have a straight line. Why are you chanting through me that you do and you can just look at it to get one? No, you can't.
Yes, you can.
Don't just chant that you can when I've described why you can't. I describe how, on a globe, you've got light moving through sphere-shaped air always. That is how you see on your fantasy sphere world. That's a fact. Now, unless you can contest it, don't just hand-wave it again or I'm going to kick you out. Do you have a rebuttal to what I've just said in terms of the globe claiming you've got sphere-shaped air and light always bending through it at a standard rate based on R? That's a fact.
Okay, when light bends at a distance...
I don't give a shit. It means you haven't got a straight line if you're now going to describe how light bends. Right? That's not you acquiring a straight line on a globe because you don't have one.
Yeah, we do. It's called eyesight, man.
So eyesight gives you straight lines. So therefore black swan. Horizon, we've got a straight line to it, therefore we haven't got a physical geometric sphere edge horizon, because if we've got a straight line to it, it's way beyond the geometric limitations of a sphere. So black swan, buddy. Straight line to it, well, black swan.
Yeah, the black swan.
Yeah, but black swan.
Out and you still
black swan.
See the horizon. Yeah, black swan, yeah.
Yeah. So if you're saying we've got a straight line to the horizon, it's beyond the geometric limitations that straight line could be.
Oh. The horizon is still straight in front of you.
No. According to you, it's refracted always. That's what the globe states. You have a bent line always, never a straight one, always refracted. Don't you forget how you tell us that it's okay that the horizon's not where it would be with a straight line to it. It's refracted, right? Yeah, that's because it's always refracted on a globe. You've never got a straight line ever.
Nathan. Refracted or geometric, it's still straight in front of you.
Sorry, refracted or geometric? No, geometric only exists in the maths.
Okay, regardless.
Okay, it means you've never got a straight line. Your okay is no geometric, no straight line. Back to the original argument. So we're drawing a straight line with a sextant to the horizon. That's right. Welcome to Flat Earth. All your lines are bent.
The argument right now is if the horizon is straight in front of you, you can get a straight line to it.
Sorry, if the horizon is straight in front of you on a globe, it's got a bent line to it. That's the argument. You just ignore it.
Those bent lines are still...
So you haven't got a straight one then if you're going to go out describing the bent ones? Yeah, you need a straight one. You haven't got one.
Yeah, and it's called...
Yeah, so that's the end of your argument. We need a straight line for this tool to work. It works on the principle that the ground is straight and flat to achieve 90-degree angle to the star and its GP below it. That's how it works. It's as simple as that. Well, you say, well, no, it can have a curved line. No, it can't. That's not how the tool works. It needs a straight line, as you described when you defined it. So if it needs a straight line and all your globe lines are bent, you have no straight line for this tool.
If the horizon is straight in front of you.
It's not on a globe. How many times? You're just going to keep telling me if it's straight in front of you. What if it's not refracted like you all told us? You all told us it was refracted.
I said it doesn't...
Yo, dumb shit. You all told us it was refracted. Right?
It doesn't matter.
Sorry, bendy crane refraction doesn't matter now. Suddenly bendy crane refraction's irrelevant. You've all told us it's refracted. Now you need a straight line to it. Suddenly that's a problem, right? Oh, the horizon's refracted. Don't you know what refraction is? Yeah, we do. You have it always occurring, always bent lines, never a straight one. Now you need a straight one. Suddenly we should forget about the refraction that you all told us. The horizon's refracted though, isn't it?
Refraction. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying.
You're not saying it. Yeah, you are. You just don't want to be now. It's bit you in the ass because you need a straight line suddenly. Yeah, for this tool to work, you need a straight line. You've described it as working with a straight line to the horizon in your own words. But you haven't got one on a globe. It's refracted, right? Like you thought that was somehow going to get around the black swan. Yeah, that means it's not geometric, no straight line to it then. Same thing applies here. So if it's refracted, which it is on a globe, it's standard, then you don't have a straight line anymore.
Okay. It doesn't matter if it's a straight line. If I throw.
Oh, it doesn't? So when you describe this tool and how it worked with a straight line, that doesn't matter. It doesn't matter the tool uses a straight line because you haven't got one. So suddenly the fact this tool needs and uses straight lines doesn't matter. It just debunks your globe belief.
No, let me.
Yeah, you described how it needed a straight line. I got you to talk me through it with a vertex and the straight line that meets that vertex at 90 degrees to the star. Then you went on to tell us how it doesn't matter that it needs straight lines because you haven't got one on a globe. Yeah, we know. Your globe's absolutely decimated and hasn't got any straight lines to give you.
Okay, if I throw a ball into the air that takes a curved path, my eyesight to this ball will always remain straight to this ball.
I'm afraid not. The horizon's apparently refracted, and that's what this tool's using. You all told us how the horizon was refracted. That was your response to the black swan. Do you not remember your response to the black swan? To tell us it's refracted? Yeah, we know it's standard practice to refract stuff through sphere-shaped air. Standard, mate, standard.
It's fine.
Standard refraction.
Even in
Yeah. The horizon's not got a straight line for you. You're going to keep ignoring this indefinitely.
No, I'm not. Even when the black swan photo, when you're looking at the horizon, it's still a straight line to the horizon.
No, it's not. You've told us how it's refracted, you stupid mong.
Yeah, you're being too easy on him. It's not standard. It's extreme. Remember, refraction.
Either way, as a standard on a globe, there's refraction because there's always sphere-shaped air. Remember when they told us, we don't ever get to suck the air off the Earth to see the geometric horizon. It's always got atmosphere. Right? Remember that, Virus? Hello?
There's nothing wrong with that. You're still looking straight at the horizon with your eyes.
No. Not unless you suck off all the atmosphere, my friend. Not looking straight at the horizon with your eyeballs on a globe. Not unless you suck off all the atmosphere. Why would we expect to see a straight line to it? We've always got atmosphere on a globe. So you've never, ever got a straight line to acquire as required by this tool. You don't have a straight line for your sextant. You don't have a straight line to the horizon. Hello, audience members on the anti-flat air side. Hi! What's that you say? It's refracted? Look at how bent the cranes are. Well, that's a big problem when you need a straight line now, isn't it? Oh, yeah. Doesn't matter, though, does it, Virus? Doesn't matter that it needs a straight line, right?
All right, so if I'm looking down at this cigarette in front of me, is my eyesight going straight to it? Am I making a straight line?
No, not on a globe. Let me lay it out for you while you look down at your cigarettes. With your sphere fantasy. No, Virus. You're looking through atmosphere when you look at those cigarettes. So no, it's not where you thought it was. It's subject to atmospheric refraction on a globe. So in your stupid world of living on a sphere, literally nothing is where you think it is. It's all subject to refraction always. Hence you can't get a straight line to this horizon. So when you detailed how this tool works, getting a straight line just because you can see it, you can just see that it's straight and flat, right? Welcome to Flat Earth.
Doesn't Craig Fight the Flat Earth have a problem seeing his hand?
You see how your globe model just made your example, which should be really simple. It just crushed it.
and just made it seem really silly.
Okay, y'all
Because
misunderstanding. I'm sorry,
nothing is where it's
but
supposed
y'all
to be. You get that,
misunderstanding
right?
of the
No,
globe
he's
is what's
arguing our
making this
way.
very funny.
You get that?
Sorry, we
You get
misunderstand the
that you
globe.
got-
No, we don't. We understand that it's subject to refraction always because of atmosphere, sphere-shaped air, and it's the rebuttal you give us to the black swan. It's refracted. And you tell us that further to that, we wouldn't expect to see the geometric horizon unless you sucked out all the atmosphere into the sky vacuum. Ironically, the very thing that would happen if we had one. But there we go, that's a different story. Ultimately speaking, we can never acquire a straight line to it ever, according to your religious faith, in sphere-shaped air, and light always bending through it. That's a fact. Now, you haven't refuted that, you've just told me I can look at the horizon. Yeah, and if you look at the horizon and assume you've got a straight line to it, then you've got a straight line to the horizon. That would be a flat Earth that you're describing. Then we ask you to describe how that's acquirable given that your globe always has bent lines, and the answer is you can't. Hence, this tool debunks the globe and proves Earth is flat.
Hey, Nathan, do you think that refraction changes direction of your looking?
On a globe it does, yeah. 7 over
That's what
6
you
of
guys
the
do.
radius value in standard format is precisely what it does on a globe if you believe you're on a globe. Yeah, that's right. It's standard.
How are
Refraction.
you saying what you guys have been
saying
telling
that,
us for years? Why are you laughing, Virus? You
Chocolate.
clowns have been
Yeah,
telling us this shit for
I
years,
spent-
bro. Don't even
Chocolate.
try that shit.
I spent the
Chocolate.
weekend in Gym Pandas real quick, and they were, educating me, from Andrew Thomas Young's paper. Well, I don't think it was Jim's. It was somewhere else. I don't know. I can't remember anymore. But the point is, they're saying, yeah, those light rays, they're curving to your eyeball, right?
Yeah, but buddy.
They are.
Yeah.
They are.
Oh, they are? So they're curving to your eyeball from the horizon then. So you haven't got a straight line to acquire for this tool as you detailed it needing a straight line. You haven't got one then.
I don't care if the refraction wrapped around.
Oh, so the refraction that stops you getting a straight line you don't care about now? Yeah, you should. Because it absolutely annihilates your faith in a sphere. Don't care that you claim to always have light bending into your eyeball on a sphere. You should. Because this tool proves the contrary to that. Proves it's flat.
The back of my head hurts. No.
Good. I'm glad you confessed to that. Hey, anti-flat earth fundies. The back of his head hurting, that's cognitive pain. Because he's told us how this tool uses a straight line to the horizon, right? You just look at it and it's straight. Or we just look at it with the black swan rebuttal in mind that it's always refracted, never a straight line to get. Now, this cognitive problem is called cognitive dissonance. Two positions that cannot be held simultaneously, but he does. There's no straight lines to acquire, but I can acquire one just by looking, right? That's the pain in the back of your head, Virus. Laugh it up.
Yeah. It's funny because you think refraction changes the direction of what you're looking.
That's why.
Sorry, I think refraction changes the light of what we're looking. No, on a globe, when the globe claims standard refraction as a standard, they claim it changes where things that you think you're looking at with a straight line as you would are actually not in the position you think they are because of standard refraction, also known as terrestrial refraction, also known as atmospheric refraction. That's sphere-shaped air bending light into your eye. And you confess to it, right? Through your little chuckle. Yeah, light is bending into my eye. Yeah. Then you told us about the pain in the back of your head now, though, didn't you? Because the pain in the back of your head is what's really going to get focused on. Because that cognitive pain about not having a straight line when you need one is a bit of a bummer if you've got a globe belief.
Virus, why do you do dip correction?
It's not that bad. It's actually kind of funny. What's up? What's up, Tan?
Virus, why do you do dip correction?
No, ask that again. I'm sorry. I think my audio's messing up.
Why, when you sight a star on top of a sailboat, do you do dip correction? What's the purpose for dip correction?
And it's not directly on the Earth. It adjusts for that. It makes it where your starting point is on the Earth.
It makes it so the starting point for the measurement angle is on the Earth. Is that what you said?
Yeah.
Okay, Nathan, go to the picture of the blue circle with the 3 circle of equal altitudes, please. So, Virus, you just admitted that if you're taking the measurement with the sextant and you are 16 feet, in this example, above the surface of the water, that the dip correction is going to be adjusting so that your eyeballs are actually taking the measurement from the surface of the water rather than 16 feet above it. Do you agree with that before we move on?
He already did.
I want to hear it from him.
Do you agree that the dip angle puts your eyeball on the water or land that you're measuring from? You've already confirmed it. Can you just say yes again, please?
I agree.
Okay. The picture that I want Nathan to show, which is the blue circle with the 3 circles of equal altitude, has a box on all 3 of them. This is from your side of the camp. I didn't make this slide. That box is why you take it down to the surface of the water. So you have a right angle, flat, all the way to 3,000 miles, all the way to 5,000 miles. Doesn't matter. It's flat to the GP of that star, no matter what the distance is from you. That's the purpose of the dip correction, so that you can get an angle using 2 straight lines. It forms a right angle. Are you telling me that works on a curved surface, Virus?
Yes, I'm telling you that works on a curved surface.
There's no hope for you.
Where'd you get the straight line?
Hold on.
Where'd you get
Hey,
the
I
straight
might
line?
need
then?
to
What do you mean it works on a curved surface? Where'd you get the straight line?
I think I might need to join and come back.
Yeah.
Where'd you get the straight line from then? You got your position down to the ground.
Eyesight.
How'd you get a straight line? Eyesight. So your line of sight is straight then to the horizon. So it's straight, flat to the horizon. Welcome to Flat Earth. You hear me?
Your eyesight is straight from you to the GP of the star, is what you're saying?
Yep. That makes it flat. Welcome to Flat Earth then. Not bent at 8 inches per mile squared. Straight to the horizon. Flat to the horizon. Level with the GP of the star. So not bent, not 8 inches per mile squared. It wouldn't work that way because that wouldn't give you a straight line. And in your paradigm, you couldn't acquire one if you tried, just by looking at it, because all lines are bent. You don't have a straight line to acquire. You said that will work on a globe. I asked you, where'd you get the straight line for the angle at the vertex I took you through earlier? Where'd you get that straight line then?
Virus, are you seriously saying that the radius from the GP, Virus, the radius from the GP to you is bent? Are you saying that that radius is bent?
No, I'm not.
Well, then welcome to Flat Earth.
Welcome to Flat Earth.
He's so dumb, you don't even realize.
Yeah, certainly seems to be the case in most instances and encounters with Virus. But with that, I am going to say, first and foremost, a huge, massive, enormous thank you to both Discord and G+ panels for making today's after show possible. Of course, a massive thank you to all of you in either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley Premiering streams. Hopefully smashing the super chat, liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing, and joining as a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member. Also, below this video, you can get £50 for swapping your UK electricity supplier to Octopus Energy. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I will see you all in the next video.
day!